Well, hello, friends. Sage,
Oh, hi.
we're here. Oh, hi. So we're here to sprinkle some inspiration for the beginning of this year. Happy 2025, my dear Sage.
It's happening.
Can we
We're
believe it? It's happening. It's happening. And guess what? It's going to be a really good year. I know, I know. The world is falling apart, and this is so. And also, all signs point to we can have an incredible year. I think it's all possible. What are you feeling into it, Sage?
I agree because sometimes things are going to be on fire around us and we don't have a bit of control over it. And so we
Yes.
choose, we choose how we show up each day and what we create. And so I hang on to that, MA.
Yeah.
What do I get to choose?
Yeah. I will read you something I wrote today that I think is I had it here because I wrote it earlier, but makes sense of what you're saying. Optimism optimism cannot be based on just your circumstances changing. It has to be based on you changing and evolving. It's an inside job.
Totally.
And so the outside world is going to do its thing, and but the optimism that we have cannot be based on circumstances changing because that's when we end up like spinning our wheels and waiting around.
For sure.
So in light of that, we're recording this January 3rd, 2025. I want
Mhm.
to say that right now as we speak, Venus is
Venus.
the Venus is conjunct the moon in Pisces. And if you look at the sky tonight, pretty much everybody can watching this or this evening, whenever you do watch this, you will see them together because they're together in the sky. And what's awesome about that is that it ushers in a lot of what 2025 is about, which is this Piscean, very dreamy energy. Segue to drum roll, Sage. You go ahead and introduce.
Era of the Dreamers.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
Uh,
Where do you want me to start where I was like, oh, hey, MA.
please. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I was talking to my dear friend MA, and I was like, oh, hey, I've got this idea. I'd really like to host a vision board workshop at the beginning of the year because we were chitty chatting in December. And then MA was like, okay, this is your turn. I'm gonna
I,
pass the baton.
I just invited myself to the party because I'm taking a very intentional semi-sabbatical, so I'm not really pouring a lot out there. I'm being very intentional about the things that I do create. And when Sage said that, I felt a little tingles of like, ooh, that would be really fun to create with her together. Little did we know we're having all these moments between her and I that were like, wow, we were meant to like walk hand in hand into this year together. We'll see. I'm getting chills.
Yeah.
Everything that blossoms from both of us, how we're growing in this moment. And we're inviting all of you guys to the party as well. So I invited myself. And then we started talking about it. And I told her a little bit about the astrology. And I was like, Sage, because we're really entering a whole new era. It's like the era of the dreamers. And she was like, stop everything, hold the phone, call me a cab. Let's go. Hence, our event was born, something that she was giving birth to. And then we, you know,
MA invited
began,
herself.
I invited myself, just I opened the door and we then became mothers together.
Yeah.
So January 11th, we chose that date very intentionally because it is the day that the nodes of the moon are shifting. The nodes of the moon, also called the nodes of fate, the nodes of destiny, north node and south node, they basically shift signs every 18 months. And so it's a significant transition into two new signs. And the sign that we're stepping into with the north node, which is like a collective north star, it's where our energy is sort of looking at and where we want to grow into and experience is Pisces. And Pisces is the ultimate in magic, in intuition, in creativity, in the surrender of really experiencing life through that magical lens that sort of permeates through everything that we do. And the South Node, which is where we are like releasing something, is in Virgo. And when we're releasing something through the South Node, it's always like the shadow aspects of that particular sign. And Virgo is very, very famous for its shadow aspect of perfectionism, which we've been healing for years
And years.
and years. So it's a really interesting combination of energies around releasing that perfectionism, that not enough, that like, I still have to wait until this and this and that, however that, looks for either of us, for every one of us, and looking towards that dreamscape. And and then to use Sage's word and energy, how to claim it. Sage, go.
Okay, so all the
How
magic.
do we claim our dreams?
Well,
Well,
sign up for an era of the dreamers.
sign up for Era of the Dreamers. We're going to show you in 3 easy steps how to claim your dreams.
Oh, become a bestseller of your life in 48 hours.
Make $10,000 every day in just 24 hours.
I mean, who wouldn't want to hang out with us? I'm just saying.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ. Who wouldn't want to hang out with us? Yes.
So, so what really started coming to me is when MA shared about starting, was it starting a journal, but also leaving yourself these beautiful little like notes
Oh,
and
wait, we haven't talked about the journal though.
crap. Am I
Go
jumping?
back, go back. The
Where am I going?
vision board that is the going through a metamorphosis. We're
Okay.
taking the vision board to the next level.
Okay. I got excited.
Yes.
So I've been making vision boards as long as I can remember, probably since I was a teenage girl, and I'm 46. They've been a part of my life for a long time. But this journal, this piece of instead of just focusing on one sheet, one square of a vision board, bringing it to a journal to me, for me, is like this committed action piece. Because I am someone who loves journals. I know a lot of people who loves journals, but there's this gap of like showing up and being in a practice of using our journals. Um, and when MA was like talking about the journal, which I won't jump ahead, but I will just say what sparked in me was what a beautiful opportunity to start a practice. Like, I don't know about you, I choose myself last, and
Mm.
that is changing, but it's been my truth for a whole bunch of time. And
Hmm.
so I would do all the other things before I did daily practices like journal or go to the canvas or whatever my practice was. And I was like, hold on, we're going to vision in this journal that I then get to show up to day after day after day. Like, I get to be in a committed practice of showing up for myself
Mm.
using this process, this journal that
Yeah.
we're missing. Okay, so
Yeah.
I didn't mean to jump too far ahead.
So no, and this isn't some fancy thing. It's literally a book. I've used the same book, like I just one ends and the other begins. And I've been doing this for about 5 or 6 years at this point. And I was telling her, like, oh, this has really been life changing for me because um it's something that I don't have a specific like time where I sit down to do it or it's done every day. It's very fluid. It's always kind of hanging out. And I capture everything that is not in the realm of planning. Like planning is sort of like done in the calendar or other to-do lists. But here it's just whether it's bits of poetry, um, quotes, journaling in it, actually journaling in it, but not in a way where I'm like, I have to do it every day and a
Right.
lot of creativity, which over time I've noticed because I was looking at some of my books, how that creativity has increased, which is so delightful to me because I think before I felt like, I don't know, I wasn't going to be good at it, or I was too, again, the perfectionism, like, oh, it's got to look a certain way. Um, and I love, because I hadn't thought about it this way, the idea of having this sort of whole envisioning process throughout the year where, and this is part of what we're going to do in Era of the Dreamers, is we are going to create this sort of vision board like space at the beginning of a fresh journal. And then we're going to pepper in throughout the journal, because this is something that I wanted to do as well for me this year. And when I told Sage, she was like, oh, I love that. I'm just going to, let's say, you go into a blank page, right? This is the one I'm keeping all the time. And I'm either going to place a sticker or I'm going to write something. And as I go and when I discover that page, who knows what's going on at that moment in my life, but it becomes both an interesting prompt and also like a bit of divination, which I'm interested to see how that plays out the rest of the year. So imagine you're randomly like you filled it out and then you're going to the next page and you see this beautiful quote that you wrote for yourself or a message that says, keep going, you've got this, or I love you, or you're effing magical, whatever. Maybe it's a picture of yourself when you were a little girl, a picture of an animal, flowers, whatever. And then you see that all of a sudden and you're like, wow, it's like your future self giving you a message of encouragement, of softening, of a little extra magic. And that is going to be so exciting because it keeps pulsing. It's not just done and then, oh, this is it. It just keeps growing. I have stickers flying everywhere, by the way, which is kind of perfect.
Like confetti stickers.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the kind of life I want where stickers are just flying all over the place.
Well, and I was thinking about, typically when I create a vision board, I hang it up on the wall, right? But
Mm.
how many times am I like mindfully choosing to like be with it? Sometimes I am. Like
Mhm.
sometimes it's displayed where it's somewhere I see a lot, but looking at it and really being with it for me is two different things, two different kind of energies. And when I think of a journal that you're starting in such a beautiful time of the year, like all the magical astrological stuff that you mentioned at the beginning, and then we're going to be creating this like cosmic vision page to really like kick us off. It's like, and then however long, like if you have a daily practice, and every other day practice, a weekly practice, but you're being with that same tool of energy. And it's like we
Mm.
all know where we put our energy is what's fed in our lives. And
Mhm.
so imagine just like showing up to this journal, watching it get thicker and thicker, and things hanging out of it. It just becomes this like luscious book of you. I'm
Yes.
and I'm here for that. I'm here for like investing energy in what I want to create. And so the journal is like this capsule keeper of what we want, who we get.
Yes. I want to show a couple of, this
That
was the last one I had. And this is a poem I wrote. And I don't do these like at the beginning of the year. We're starting now fresh at the beginning. But I basically like when one ends, then the other begins.
and yeah.
Um, there's so many things that you can capture with the journal. The color of it is significant. The color that you choose. Um, it always stands out as, oh, maybe that's the color of something that I'm leaning into, something that's calling me. The energy of each of them represents like a period of your life. And a question I had for you, Sage, is how do you think that your word of the year will impact your book this year?
Well, that's a
Mm.
good one. So my word of the year is illuminate,
Mhm.
which for me is this. I just envision this big yellow light, this like spotlight, this like beacon of light coming from a lighthouse. And so I think about the word visibility also is coming up for me with the journal. And it's being in this practice. Illuminate is being in this practice of showing up for myself. And
Mm.
that keeps coming up for me, like illuminating myself.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's what it feels like. And so having this journal that I can take with me, I can carry it with me. I can sleep with it if I want to. I could put it under the moon. Like I could do whatever I want with this beautiful journal. But like it's this showing up for myself that I just fully haven't stepped into yet in my life. And I'm really claiming that this year with Illuminate is fully stepping in and being in this practice with this journal
Mhm.
is like my initiation, which I also pull a card every month on the winter solstice. And my January card was initiation or
Oh
is
my God, what a stunning card.
like you can't make this stuff up. Like
Yeah.
so I feel like that illuminate is illuminating the spotlight on me for me.
Mm. Thank you
Me.
for that. Because you and I have talked a little bit about our words, but that was mm.
So what about you?
Um
What about your
my word of the year is whimsical, and it's already been so fruitful because and I'll show you this because this is some of the and I actually did this at your book event, and I
Ooh,
still have more to fill in. Um, but we were working with the word that came out. I hadn't like decided it was my word of the year yet. Not decided. It hadn't fully clicked in. It was coming. It was the word already. I was just resisting it. That's the true answer.
yeah.
My word was already a whimsical, but I was like, and then at your event where you got the word practice, I was like, all right, whimsical. And so I looked through this magazine and I was like, what do I find whimsical about these images? And I was like, it's just so how is it going to play into my book is this it feels like a huge permission slip to not have to be so serious, to not put so much stock in being serious, to know that I don't have anything to prove to anybody, which was always like a big thing that kept me like, and that feels so like what a fucking relief. That is huge for me. And so I'm noticing throughout my life, both in the journal and around. And that's a beautiful thing about the journal too, is it allows you to also express things intuitively that and you don't even have to write in it. You can just pick images. There's no pressure on how that comes through. But it really unlocks all these little new questions, these beautiful new curiosities, and these moments of like, wow, wow. Um, it's hard to describe, and it's the simplest, most delicious thing. Um, and the idea that it's all kept in this, it's just one space,
Yeah.
it's just this one space because often, and this used to be me, I had, a book for this and a journal for that and another one for this thing. And somebody the other day even asked, at the word of the year, she was like, "For those of you that are doing journaling, how do you spread them? Which ones?" And I was like, I got rid of all of that and I just went for one book. And I've happened to pick the same style of notebook because I like the idea of them having this sort of really beautiful continuity across my across the years. It doesn't have to be that way, but I found that also helps me to keep it also to eliminate the what's the word I'm looking for? Decision fatigue.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Decision fatigue can get in the way with so much. And I'm just like, no, I like this journal. I'm going to keep using the same book. I'm going to just change up the colors and what's on the cover or whatever. And it's just sort of a given. And it's become very freeing too, because I also don't care if there's a mistake or anything like that. It's all like, which Cosmic Smashbooking has so much of that. And also, that practice fosters so much of that freedom. So it's a wonderful energy to incorporate here.
Totally. And I think the more that I embrace that piece about allowing myself to be messy, it's just so it just lightens this load that I think so many of us can carry about trying to get it right, trying to look good, what
Mhm.
other people think I should show up like or say, or you just don't, you just let it go. You just let it go. And so, like the other day, I was teaching, it was when I was teaching live on YouTube and I misspelled a word and I've got my camera on my journal page. So, and I was like, oh, look at there. misspelled it. Oh well, keep going. It's just like not getting
Mm-hmm.
hung up on stuff like that anymore. Um, so yeah, so to me, that's what this is it's a permission slip to show up exactly the way you want to. I love that you mentioned you don't actually have to journal. You could do a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
journaling, do some watercolors, do some collage, do whatever you want in there. Photographs, like it does not matter. And it's also bringing us into this permission slip to dream. It's
Mm-hmm.
like these crumbs. We're like, go here. And then, oh, well, let's go over here. And opening the doors to what would it look like to dream for
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
And
Are you
that's what
coming? I'm coming. I'm gonna
that's
sign up for this workshop.
I'm signing up for the workshop too. As you're saying, as like that's it. That's really that's what it is. And Sage and I have been also reflecting on our just innate curiosity about uh doing this thing. That it's coming from a really beautiful, joyful, like wonder-filled space. It has felt really fun the whole way of planning it and everything. And that we really do intend to open up the space of what does it look like for me to dream.
Yeah.
And I think because of this Piscean energy that we're going to be dwelling in from basically like January 11th to mid 2026, it's going to open up our spiritual senses. It's going to help us understand and see new things that we haven't even understood before in new ways. Um, and the idea of dreaming is taking on also, I think, inviting ourselves to take on this new, fresh perspective, sort of like dream new dreams. Because what I've been also pondering, Sage, recently is that there's so many dreams that I've like banked that I thought I was supposed to do, and almost dreams that started like, let me say 10 years ago, and I wanted to do all these things, and some of them I've done and some of them I haven't, and it just feels like a lot of them get to just kind of be sort of put to the side and released, which is part of the practice that we're going to do with your journaling prompts
Yeah.
before we get into this page. Because that releasing of the old stagnant dreams, and think about the dreams that you think you have, that other people are connected to, um, the dreams that you've dreamt at a different stage in your life where we're not maybe honoring where we are right now because you're still holding on to that version of you, and the future versions of you are so much more magnificent. Like whoever's just around the corner from this moment is so much more magnificent than, you know.
Trying to go backwards to this person that's already
Yes. And
evolved.
I was like, wow, even 5 years ago, I had all these dreams that seemed like a completely different era of who I am. And I love her, and I have no, like, it's just all beautiful, but I'm also like, I don't have to hold on to that stuff. Because here's the thing also is we've maybe dreamed certain things for so long that we become attached to them. And then the idea of just clearing the decks and dreaming something new feels overwhelming. And it feels like, oh, but I'm attached. It's like a blanket, like a security blanket,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Those dreams that you've had,
Mhm.
it's like, oh, but what if you were like, oh, completely new moment?
Yeah.
It leaves you kind of exposed, but that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, because I think sometimes I convince myself, well, I said I was going to do it and I have to do it because integrity is like one of my core value words for
Hmm.
myself, right? So I'm like, well, I said I was going to do it. I got to do it. But
Yeah.
then the other side of that coin is like, we change and shift. Experiences change us, time changes us. It's like, it's okay. Yes, it's great to be a person of your word and stay committed. And like, also, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to let stuff go. Like, there's a both and here. It's not black and white. So I think sometimes people hold on to something for so long. It's actually no longer even aligned with where they want to go, but they feel like I have to keep going with this because I said I was going to. And then
Yeah.
I think that's when maybe people fall into this trap of living their life not for themselves, but for what they think they're supposed to do and they should do and what people want them to do.
Yeah.
And it's, I think for me, as we've talked about putting this workshop together, it's like really creating a space where it's okay to let go of what
Mhm.
we just no longer want to be a part of. No
Mhm.
good, bad, right, or wrong here. It's just not aligned with how where we're moving, how we're going. But what do we actually want right now?
Mhm.
Right now, in this moment,
Yeah.
quieting the noise around us and just like really listening to ourselves.
Yes. And to your point about how much we've changed, we have changed a lot over the past few years. Astrologically speaking, facts are facts. Like I told my husband this morning, I was talking about something chart related, and he's not a huge believer. He respects my astrology, but he's like, okay, babe, sure. But I was like, facts are facts. We have changed significantly. And this is really a turning of a whole shift in energy this year again. And there's this whole different like frequency to it. And I also, oh, the other thing I wanted to say, oh, that the tarot card for this year is the Hermit card, which reminded me of what you've said about that sort of peace and contemplation. The Hermit is that quiet wisdom, that inner wisdom. The Hermit holds this beautiful light with this like luminous star inside. And so it's both this sort of inner illuminating, like your inner self, and also just like knowing that there's hope, that there's this optimistic view, that the light will always be there. And I find it so fascinating that we have this Pisces dream magic, consciousness, like it's the ultimate in like the spiritual, just like, oh, and combined with this hermit and combined with all the craziness happening in the world. It feels like two energies that are kind of like, but they're not. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, what if we each of us took this like inner cultivation while we are looking outside and holding that light and going like,
Mm.
I mean, yeah.
I love all of this. I'm super.
So I love it too. I'm going. Are you going to go to this thing?
I'm gonna be there.
I think so.
I'm gonna get a new journal and I'll be there.
I think
So
I'm going to move some stuff in my schedule, my very busy schedule. So to wrap up, who do we think would love to be here? Who's
Mm,
this for? I'm going to share one
okay.
and then you share, and then I'll share another one. And then, I think this is for the person who's always wanted to start a journal, but felt overwhelmed, didn't know where to begin, doesn't think they can continue. I think you're going to get a big dose of inspiration to know that there's no rules and that you're going to begin to cultivate a practice that is going to be with you. One of the most basic things you can do that's going to really shift your life.
I love that.
That's one.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like this is for the person who, when they think about having a life's vision or any kind of vision, they shut down because it feels too big.
Mm,
Because we're going to introduce visioning in a way that's a bit different, where it's not so big that it feels unattainable, that it's actually this thing that you could feel into in this moment in the workshop. So if it
yeah.
feels big to dream, this is for you.
Yeah. I keep tapping into the energy of the vision board and the energy of this vision journal, book, dreamer, whatever we want to call it. It's up to everyone to call it their own thing. It's that beautiful, delicious commitment because the vision board almost becomes like static, like you were saying. It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
But when you actually put it in this form, this format, it's just like it's gonna follow you and it's gonna keep nourishing you. And you can't just leave it like, oh, I'd like to do this.
Yeah.
It's just living and breathing.
And what if you come to the workshop and you start this beautiful vision page and you're like the gears are turning of like dreaming and what does that look like for you? And then you get into the practice of continuing to vision in this
Mm,
book, like continuing as you
yes.
get downloads and as you have these moments of awareness, you're like, oh, and it starts unraveling like this thing that you're like, I'm not quite sure what this is, but we're cracking it open. And then
Hmm.
it's gonna keep coming. And so then you keep working.
I
I'm
love I love you bringing in that downloads
yeah,
because we can and we will cast a spell. And by the way, so this is my Skylar, and this was his Santa list. I mean, because anything goes. We will cast a spell so that every time that we open our book, you're ready for the downloads.
totally.
It's just that. It's that. It's just like you just decided it and that's it. And you just sit there and you're just like,
Let's go.
bring it.
Yeah,
Um, I think this is also for the person who wants to get a good, like, beautiful overview of the beginning of the year in terms of astrology. We're going to keep it nice and simple and easy to follow. You don't have to be any kind of expert. It's all about inspiration. It's like a cosmic, beautiful blueprint that I think really is inspiring for this moment, this time of the year, and creativity.
for sure. For sure. And I just want to say, like, you don't have to identify as an artist or a writer, any of those things. If you're watching this, you're a creative human being and you
Mhm.
already have everything you need to have an amazing experience at the workshop. Um, and I want to say, I think this is also for the person who's leaning into being more present with themselves and what they're creating, more connected, wanting to live an intentional life. Like, I think this is a beautiful tool that will support you in that.
Yeah. And if you want to have some fun with these two kooky gals, because we're going to teach you how to fix your life in 4 easy steps
For 99
for
90.
99.99.
Oh,
Guess
I love
what
that.
is also changing dramatically? All that mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
And gosh darn it, Sage, if you and I are going to lead the charge, we're going to put our big girl panties on and go for it.
Look, MA and I are not here to enroll you in some bullshit. We're here with real talk
No.
and open-heartedness and joy and magic. And that's why I'm so pumped about this collaboration. We're,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
All right, friends. Well, you'll have the link to join in the wherever you find this beautiful video. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask us. But if you're a tiny bit curious, it's a bargain for a beautiful time together. Um, Nothing else to say.
no, oh, we're
No,
really excited to see you there and create with you.
we really, 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 truly are. I love you, Sage.
I love you, my friend.
Mwah. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.